Chapter 711 Codename, Chaos. Compound number 6, a term Zhang Yi had never heard of. But he soon understood it. Compound X is a unique technology of the Deng family, and even the people in Blizzard City cannot get it. Thank you, I understand now. He thought again and again, and suppressed his urge to use the injection. It is better to wait until Liang Yu's experiment is over and observe it. No matter what time, caution should be put first. It is better to be careful. Deng Yuanbo told Zhu Zheng that Zhang Yi agreed to serve as the captain of the Tengu squad. Zhu Zheng was very surprised and didn't know what conditions Deng Yuanbo used to convince Zhang Yi. Deng Yuanbo just laughed and passed it by. Zhu Zheng was not angry. In short, as long as Zhang Yi agreed to serve as the captain of the Tengu squad, it would be the best news for the major forces in Blizzard City. He thought about it and asked his secretary Lan Xinqing to call Zhang Yi over. He planned to talk to Zhang Yi in person, mainly because he had something to explain about the mission. So Zhang Yi didn't rest much in the afternoon and was called to the combat center again. He met Zhu Zheng. Zhu Zheng smiled kindly, looking at Zhang Yi with full satisfaction, just like when he looked at Deng Shintong. I heard from Deng Yuanbo that you agreed to be the captain of the Tengu team? Zhang Yi had complained about this name countless times in his heart, but fortunately, he was not really a dog. Think about it, Deng Shintong's team is called Tianshan and he is called Tiango. It's a bit embarrassing. Zhang Yi put away his reverie, raised his head, and put his right fist on his chest. For the Jiangnan region, for Blizzard City, for the glory of the Hua people. Rebuilding the glory of Huashu country is our obligation. I must think about whether this is my only chance in this life to sacrifice my life for the country. Zhu Zheng coughed violently and thought to himself, You kid, you almost begged you before but you didn't agree. Now you act like a hot-blooded man for whom? Although I don't know what conditions Deng Yuanbo gave Zhang Yi, I know that Zhang Yi is the kind of person who won't show his eagle until he sees the rabbit. And what the Deng family can impress Zhang Yi is probably their genetic technology. Zhu Zheng said to Zhang Yi seriously, Since you have accepted the position of captain, you must assume the corresponding responsibilities. The remnants of the God team and the Black Robe team will be handed over to you for management. These aliens are all unruly, especially the members of the God team. As the captain, you must integrate the team well and stop acting like a lone wolf. But as the investigation captain, you can also enjoy very high authority. Lan Xinqing will send the authority description to your communication device later. Zhang Yi had no objection to these. However, after thinking about it, he made 2 requests. I brought people here, Liang Yu and Yang Xinxin, and my pet Huahua is very strong. I hope these 3 can be included in the team. After all, temporary staff can also enjoy the rights of regular staff, such as battle clothes. This reminded Zhang Yi of the volunteers before the end of the world. Although they did not get a penny for their work, they could still get a set of clothes when they left. He was not greedy, just give them a set of black battle clothes each. That thing is really useful. Zhu Zheng smiled and nodded. Of course there's no problem. As the captain, you still have the power to appoint your confidants. Zhang Yi continued. This team is temporarily formed. I also said that I will be the captain temporarily. When the mission is over, I will still return to Tianhai City and be my free homeboy. So, I don't want my personal information to be exposed too much. Can I act under a code name instead of my real name? It is important to hide your strength. But after this battle, Zhang Yi's name will definitely be noticed by many forces. With just his name, major organizations in the world can quickly strip all his information from birth to now. After all, here, the identity information of ordinary people is not valuable and has long been sold to the world. And personal information contains their weaknesses, and it is possible that a small problem will lead to his death. After listening, Zhu Zheng thought for a moment and murmured, The idea you proposed was actually mentioned by someone when the leaders of several regions communicated not long ago. We do need to compile code names for core combatants to ensure the confidentiality of personal information. This should be considered common sense. Even in the army, special forces soldiers have code names. Not to mention those special personnel, most of them use code names or pseudonyms to ensure that their identities are not leaked. Zhang Yi asked, Does that mean it's okay? Zhu Zheng smiled and nodded. Of course, in fact, the region has already started code name operations. We have basically established the rules for code names. He touched his chin. Well, the current decision is to use characters in ancient mythology as code names. In fact, everyone at the level of investigation team leader has their own code name, which is an official code name. I can get one for you. Zhang Yi thought about it and made a request. I hope you can give me an amazing code name. The code name of the eye. Not too strong, not too weak, and not too famous. Just the kind that you can tell at a glance that there is no sense of existence. Zhu Zheng knew Zhang Yi's character, so he nodded. Okay, I'll check the list for you later to see if there are any code names that can be used. As for contacting the members of the Tengu squad, Mon Xinqing and Bailey Chongqing will contact you. Zhang Yi nodded in acceptance, which was no problem at all. After Zhang Yi left, Zhu Zheng looked at the closed door and propped up his chin with both hands. His sharp eyes were like a sword, emitting a terrifying light. Zhang Yi is very smart. If he serves as the captain of the Tengu squad, the problem will be solved very well. In the shadow behind him, Sun Lushuan spoke slowly, like a sculpture. In this way, no one in Blizzard City can shake your authority. After the mission of encircling and suppressing Eclipse Moon is completed, the organization of the Tengu squad will be disbanded, and then Zhang Yi will be allowed to leave Blizzard City. This is the best ending. Sun Lushuan looked at Zhu Zheng and asked with a smile, but by then, the Tengu team will have no captains. Zhu Zheng's cold mouth slowly lifted up. Don't worry, I already have the most suitable candidate. Shortly after Zhang Yi left, Zhu Zheng sent the codenames to him for him to choose. After he confirmed, it would need to be reported to the internal system of the 6 districts. Everyone can only have one special title, and latecomers cannot seize the codenames of their predecessors. If you really want to seize the title of others, you have to use special means. As Zhang Yi thought, titles such as Wukong, Yuanshi Tianzuan, Kong Xian, and Erling Shen have already been occupied. There are also high and low distinctions among extraordinary people, and most people are still arrogant and unwilling to be inferior to others. Therefore, most of the remaining titles are not well known, or small gods at the end. Zhang Yi looked at the code names on the list and thought for a while. He muttered to himself, 2 high-profile code names for priesthood have been taken. Deliberately choosing 2 obscure ones will give people the feeling that you are deliberately hiding yourself, which will make it easier to expose. You must choose a more moderate code name, which is neither obscure nor too conspicuous. After reading it several times, he finally decided on his code name, Chaos. This was the code name he chose. Chaos represents confusion and the unknown. Although it is one of the 4 ancient beasts, it is less well-known than Qiongqi and Taotai. It is a powerful beast, but its reputation is rarely spread. Whether from the literal meaning of the word chaos or from its low-key reputation, it meets Zhang Yi's requirements. After Zhang Yi chose the code name, he reported it to Zhu Zheng. He asked Blizzard City to call him by the code name Chaos in the public announcement. Chapter 7:12 The Immortal and the Prophet. After receiving the code name reported by Zhang Yi, Zhu Zheng was stunned for a moment, and then a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It was as if he was saying that it should be so. Only in this way can it be consistent with Zhang Yi's consistent temperament. Because after the code name system came out, the 6 major districts had disputes because of this. Those popular titles were snatched up like lucky license plates. For this reason, there were also many fights between aliens. Just a popular code name could cause a duel between 2 top aliens. Popular names such as Sun Wukong, Erling Shen, Guandi, and Hao Tian have been rotated several times. Zhang Yi chose a Chaos, and no one would come to fight with him for the code name. This guy, steady, really too steady. Zhu Zheng sighed. If Zhang Yi had not been unwilling to join Blizzard City, he would have wanted to take Zhang Yi under his command and train him well. He will definitely become a capable general under his command. After all, after Bian Junhua died in battle, the combat power of his men was also greatly hit. If there is any imbalance, his position may be shaken. Zhang Yi. He silently repeated Zhang Yi's name, thinking in his heart, if Zhang Yi successfully completed the task this time, what means should be used to win him over? Not long after Zhang Yi left the combat center, Bailey Chongqing found him. As soon as they met, Bailey Chongqing showed Zhang Yi a meaningful smile. Congratulations, you finally became the captain of the investigation team. There was a lot of emotion in his eyes. Now think about it, it is also legendary that Zhang Yi was able to be promoted to the captain of the investigation team as an alien from the outer city. Zhang Yi noticed his unusualness and guessed something in his heart. Then he asked, "What about you? Is your position as captain gone?" Bailey Chongqing shrugged helplessly. "Originally, I was only a temporary captain. Now I have figured it out. Don't take on a job that you don't have the skills to do. Although I have been the captain of the investigation team for a while, no one really treats me as a captain. It's easier now." Zhang Yi touched his nose. "You can't blame me." Bailey Chongqing nodded. "I understand. Fortunately, my family's living conditions have not changed." Zhang Yi said, "I am only a temporary captain. Once the Eclipse Moon mission is over, the Tengu squad may be disbanded. I will also step down, and then I will recommend you to continue to be the captain." He smiled and put his arm around Bailey Chongqing's shoulders. "After all, we are familiar with each other. Who else can I help if I don't help you?" It's easy to get things done with someone above, so of course he has to take care of Bailey Chongqing. Bailey Chongqing didn't comment. He had experienced this kind of thing once, and felt a lot in his heart. Only when you have strong enough strength can you get recognition from others. For example, Zhang Yi. As long as he is strong enough, he can be reused even if he has no connections or background. This is the benefit of the end of the world. It breaks the original social rules and gives those who are ordinary but capable the opportunity to stand out. Bailey Chongqing said to Zhang Yi, "You have just become the captain of the investigation team. There are some things you don't understand yet. The headquarters asked me to introduce you to the duties and powers of the investigation team leader. By the way, there are two very important intelligence to give you."
When
Zhang Yi heard the word intelligence, his face became serious. "What information?" "One is the personal information of the members of the Tengu team. As the captain, you need to understand their abilities before you can command them reasonably. I am here with the Black Robe team, and everyone knows your strength. Basically, they will have no objection to you being the captain. But as for the Celestial God team, since Deng Shintong has a very high prestige, the members are also arrogant. They may not accept the management of you, a foreigner from the outer city." Bailey Chongqing frowned at him. "When necessary, you can give them a warning and let them know who is the boss." Zhang Yi stared at Bailey Chongqing with a strange look. "Good guy, you are abusing your power for personal gain. However, if the people of the Celestial God team really don't accept his management, Zhang Yi will have to educate them. Then, what about the other information?" Bailey Chongqing slowly put away the smile on his face. "It is the message that Deng Shintong sent to the headquarters before he died. This is the core secret about the Eclipse Moon. In other words, these information were exchanged for Deng Shintong's life." Zhang Yi's face became a little more solemn. He really knew nothing about the leader of Eclipse Moon, Feng Huang Yuanren. His ability characteristics and strength were all a mystery to him. Although Deng Shintong lost to him, with Deng Shintong's strength, he would definitely be able to force Feng Huang Yuanren to reveal enough of his trump cards. This information was extremely crucial. Let's go and take a look." Zhang Yi asked Bailey Chongqing to come to the living room, where Yang Xinxin was sitting on the sofa, hugging Hua. Zhang Yi poured Bailey Chongqing a cup of hot water, while Bailey Chongqing found a suitable position and started playing the video materials. "Let's look at the information sent back by Deng Shintong first," Zhang Yi said. Bailey Chongqing nodded, and then found the information. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa and pushed the water cup from the table to the side of Bailey Chongqing. Then the three of them looked at the screen seriously. This is the last video left by Deng Shintong before his death. Among them, most of the front is blank, because Deng Shintong used his ability to distort the light so that any recording equipment cannot capture accurate images. Only sound can be heard. But based on the few conversations between the two, some information can still be obtained. This part is the ability of Fingwangyuan to be reborn after death. Immortal? It is indeed a very troublesome ability. Zhang Yi frowned slightly. How can you deal with a person who can't be killed? Although he doesn't believe that there are really people who can't die. Every time Fingwangyuan regenerates, he must consume superpowers or other things. But where is his limit? Who can know it? And from the sound of the battle, it can be heard that he is not much inferior to Deng Shentong in close combat. After a long time, the white light that enveloped everything slowly disappeared. Instead, there was an endless red flame. Zhang Yi saw Deng Shentong, who was entangled in flames and in extreme pain. He also saw the horrifying figure with a naked body wrapped in flames. Feng Huang Yuanren grinned and rushed over again and again. Even so, Deng Shentong still did not lose the ability to resist. The white light blessed by the holy body competed with the phoenix flames, and he was also fighting fiercely with Feng Huang Yuanren. Chapter 7:13 Deng Shentong's last words. Deng Shentong killed Fingwangyuan again and again. However, Fingwangyuan stood up again and again. Deng Shentong's voice was transmitted to the ears of Zhang Yi and the other two through the video. This guy, where is his life gates? Is he really immortal?
No.
This is absolutely impossible. There is no carbon-based creature in this world that cannot be killed. There must be something I haven't discovered yet. But am I really going to lose? No, something is wrong. I shouldn't lose. How could I lose? Although his ability is very abnormal, I am stronger than him. But I am really going to lose. There must be something wrong.
Ah.
So that's how it is. I understand everything. There is a traitor inside Blizzard City. Someone leaked my ability. When Zhang Yi heard this sentence from Deng Shentong himself, he couldn't help but tighten his grip on the cup. His sword eyebrows were raised, and the suspicion in his heart was infinitely magnified. Inside Blizzard City, there is actually a ghost? Yang Xinxin stared at the screen with a faint gaze, but her expression was unusually calm. But Zhang Yi knew that she was also thinking frantically in her heart. Bailey Chongqing looked normal, and it was obvious that this was not the first time he had watched this video. Zhang Yi complained in his heart. So, the top leaders of Blizzard City must have seen it. Zhu Zheng has seen it, and Deng Yuanhua has also seen it. They all suspect that there is a traitor in Blizzard City. So, are they so actively recommending me to be the captain of Tengu? Or are they planning to use me to lure out the traitor? No. You can't trust anyone easily. Even Zhu Zheng. Zhang Yi was like a headless fly. As an outsider, he didn't know the inside story. He didn't even know about the power struggles of several major factions in Blizzard City. Therefore, he couldn't comment on this matter. However, he must try his best to avoid being involved. Zhang Yi quickly retracted his thoughts and continued to watch the video materials. In the video, Deng Shentong was obviously shaky and couldn't hold on. Facing Fingwangyuan, who could be resurrected from the dead, Deng Shentong had no way to crack it at the moment. But Fingwangyuan seemed to know his abilities and even his attack methods very well. In the end, Fingwangyuan lost the strength to support his body and fell into the ruins. His weak voice came. Listen, I know his abilities. He can see through the future and see how I attack. Remember, be careful about this. Use the law of cause and effect to deal with him. In the picture, a huge flaming fist hit his face. Let Zhang Yi. Deng Shentong left the last 3 words, and then the picture was completely covered by white light. Everyone knew that it was a bomb used by captain-level figures when they chose to self-destruct. Deng Shentong's video data ended here. Zhang Yi crossed his hands and hung them in front of him, thinking hard. The last video left by Deng Shentong revealed too much information. Fingwangyuan can see through Deng Shentong's future? This ability, combined with the immortal attribute, is simply despairing. And his last incomplete sentence, let Zhang Yi, only 3 words, pushed Zhang Yi in front of the high-level officials of Blizzard City. Cause and effect. Zhang Yi understood the meaning of this sentence. If he guessed correctly, Zhang Yi had a very strong cause and effect. He could even reverse reincarnation. He once thought that he was able to come back to life because he had awakened a special ability. But now he has not discovered it. Do you want me to ask Deng's group for help in the future? Zhang Yi had this impulse. At this time, Bailey Chongqing's voice echoed in his ears. After reading it, what did you gain? Zhang Yi turned his head to look at him and smiled faintly. I gained a lot. I didn't expect the opponent to be so troublesome. Bailey Chongqing said, but Deng Shintong mentioned at the end that you can deal with him. He didn't finish, don't speculate. Bailey Chongqing smiled and said, 4 of the 5 people who died in Eclipse Moon died in your hands. Now it is basically certain that the other side has aliens who can predict the future. But you have affected the cause and effect, which proves that you are their nemesis. Zhang Yi said, but this alone is not enough. How can you win against someone who can't be killed? Bailey Chongqing asked, can you take him into your alien space and seal it with the alien space? Zhang Yi said, the alien space does not have the ability to actively collect living things. Its driving method relies on mind. My mind will only be effective against dead things. As for living people, unless they are willing to enter the alien space on their own initiative, they cannot be forcibly collected. Bailey Chongqing slapped his thigh and said, this is easy. First, break him into pieces, and then throw him into the alien space. Isn't that enough? Zhang Yi looked at Bailey Chongqing deeply. Are you talking like a human? Do you think I'm Deng Shintong? Deng Shintong can kill Feng Guangyuanren dozens of times, because he has extremely powerful attack power. But Zhang Yi is good at defense. It's difficult for him to kill Feng Guangyuanren once. Not to mention Feng Guangyuan's ability to predict the opponent's actions, it's hard to say whether it will work on Zhang Yi. Just as the two were discussing, Yang Xinxin suddenly spoke up and said a thought that made people ponder. I remember that when Deng Shintong and Feng Guangyuanren went to war, the witch Takeuchi Mayumi was also there. Zhang Yi and Bailey Chongqing looked at her. That's right, so what? Do you mean that she has an impact on this battles? Yang Xinxin bit her pink fingertips. Hu Huanjin's abilities are special, immortal regeneration, flame, and super strong physique. According to our understanding of superpowers, he can't have time-related abilities at the same time. So I guess this ability was given to him by Mayumi Takeuchi. In other words, as long as we kill her first, we can make Hu Huanjin lose at least 30% of his combat power. This suggestion instantly opened up new ideas for Zhang Yi. It is indeed a possibility, with a very high probability. Several people discussed it and obtained a lot of information from the images left by Deng Shintong. Bailey Chongqing smiled and said, in fact, you don't need to put too much pressure on yourself. The core significance of your action this time is to block the predictive ability of the Eclipse Moon Priestess. As for dealing with Hu Huanjin, there are more suitable candidates than you. Zhang Yi's eyes condensed. You mean Gao Chongqing? Bailey Chongqing nodded without hesitation. Gao Chongqing's ability is actually very suitable for dealing with Feng Guangyuanren. Of course, I can't tell you what his ability is now. But if my guess is correct, he will be the leader of this operation. And you will act more in coordination with him, just like before. Chapter 714, Helping the Growth of Seedlings. Bailey Chongqing is Gao Chongqing's friend and also his fan. Coupled with his understanding of Gao Chongqing's abilities and his partial understanding of Zhang Yi's abilities, he firmly believes that the headquarters will use Gao Chongqing as the leader to carry out the next mission to eliminate Eclipse Moon. Zhang Yi looked dim and did not refute Bailey Chongqing's words. Theoretically speaking, there is nothing wrong with what Bailey Chongqing said. But Bailey Chongqing is just a soldier after all, and he doesn't understand what power struggle is. Gao Chongqing does have better combat qualities and command capabilities than Zhang Yi. However, his identity destined him to be unable to be the leader of this operation. Being too successful and shocking the master is the biggest taboo for subordinates throughout history. To put it bluntly, even if Gao Chongqing made the greatest contribution at that time, Blizzard City would focus on promoting Zhang Yi's achievements instead of him. Let's talk about it later. Zhang Yi slapped his thigh. By the way, I am now the captain of the Tengu squad, so can I receive the captain-level weapons and equipment? He pointed at Yang Xinxin. I have 3 helpers around me. They will also be incorporated into the Tengu squad for the time being. I have already told Zhu Shuai about this. So they also need to receive equipment. Bailey Chongqing nodded. That's no problem. Just tell me what equipment you need, and I'll ask someone to send it over later. The smile on Zhang Yi's face became more and more intense. He shook his head. No, let's go by ourselves. After all, I need a lot of weapons. Bailey Chongqing's eyes gradually widened. He looked at Zhang Yi with a strange smile on his face, and seemed to guess what this guy was going to do. Not long after, Zhu Zheng, who was still working in the office, received a report from the quartermaster.
What?
Zhang Yi received a large number of weapons. A very large numbers. Zhu Shuai. He used his spatial ability to receive a large number of weapons. The quantity is a bit exaggerated, the quartermaster whispered in the corner. He couldn't help but turn his head to look at Zhang Yi, who was shopping in the warehouse. After being a quartermaster for so many years, this was the first time he encountered such a way of receiving supplies. It was just like an ant shopping in a half-price supermarket. Zhu Zheng thought about it and shook his head with a smile. This kid really has the spirit of, if you don't take advantage, you are a bastard. Forget it, just give him as many as he needs. Anyway, they are just ordinary hot weapons. In the end times, the power of these weapons has been greatly weakened, and they're not difficult to manufacture. You only need steel and gunpowder, and you can even say that you can get as many as you want. Zhang Yi received a large amount of equipment and then returned to the villa in Area A. Later, Zhu Zheng will formally form the Tengu squad and notify all places of the appointment of Zhang Yi as the captain. Zhang Yi doesn't care about these things. The false reputation of Blizzard City itself was not something he valued. However, he was still quite worried about Liang Yu's situation. Although rationally speaking, he understood that the Deng family could not do anything to Liang Yu at this time. But his long-standing cautious habit made him never give up his sense of crisis. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, Liang Yu called Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi quickly answered the call. Liang Yu, how are you now? Do you feel anything unusual? On the other end of the phone, Liang Yu was only wearing a light blue lab coat, covering the important areas and revealing her toned figure. She was surrounded by a dozen staff members wearing white protective clothing, and just behind her was a huge blue laboratory cabin. The staff were still preparing for the final work. Liang Yu felt the worry in Zhang Yi's tone and felt warm in her heart. She said, the preliminary preparations have been completed, and next I will enter the laboratory cabin they prepared for me. The experiment will last for 3 days before I can come out. I won't be able to contact you during this period. Zhang Yi was silent for a moment, wanting to say something like, take care, but felt that it was not appropriate. After holding it in for a long time, he finally said, I'll wait for you to come back. Liang Yu's smile deepened. Yeah. After the two of them finished their brief conversation, Liang Yu handed the phone to the staff, who sealed it and put it in the safe. Then a female staff member came over and asked Liang Yu to lie down in the experimental cabin. Liang Yu nodded and did as she said. Outside the laboratory on the second floor, Deng Yuanhua, Lianqing, and the person in charge of the laboratory were watching the scene. The person in charge asked Deng Yuanhua, Chairman, do we really have to follow the supply of A-level source? This level of experiment is also very consuming for us. It's even second only to the training of the young master. Deng Yuanhua narrowed his eyes and said lightly, just do as I say. In business, the initial investment is large in order to have a steady stream of rich returns in the future. This time, we can't lose again in the operation against Eclipse Moon. And I also want to take this opportunity to find out the traitor in Blizzard City. A sharp look flashed in Deng Yuanhua's eyes. Although Zhang Yi knew that this method of rapidly improving the strength of aliens would consume a lot of energy, but he didn't know how terrible this consumption was. The more talented the alien was, the more it consumed to improve its strength, including the energy loss in the middle. It is no exaggeration to say that the resources consumed to improve the ability of an alien of Liang Yu's level can even create aliens of the level of 10 survey team members. This is the price of forcing growth. If it is not a true genius, being forcibly improved in this way will only overdraw its potential. But Liang Yu, Deng Yuanhua, is not worried at all. her body, and will have been tempered by thousands of hammers. After Zhang Yi received the weapons, he returned to the villa in Area A and began to study and analyze with Yang Xinxin how to deal with Eclipse Moon. He didn't understand fighting, but he already had a lot of experience in fighting between aliens. The information that Deng Xintong exchanged for his life was very critical. Obviously, Fengguangyuan Ren was a very difficult opponent to deal with. At the same time, he had an immortal body, super melee ability, and the blessing of the witch ability that could see the future. These conditions put together are so strong that it makes people feel suffocated. However, as long as the ability exists, there must be a way to deal with it. Zhang Yi must find a way to restrain Fengguangyuan Ren and other powerful aliens under his command, and then consider taking action. Fortunately, Eclipse Moon is also in a state of rest now, so they still have some time to prepare. I'll talk to Zhu Shuai. Tu Yunlai was surrounded by several high-level officials of Blizzard City, including the heads of the administrative department and the finance department, all dressed in suits. Tu Yunlai didn't say much. His expression was as cold as ever, but he politely bowed his head to thank them. As for Gao Changkong, he came today with his deputy captain Ji Yushin and Gu Man. Compared with Tu Yunlai, he has more people in his circle. Gao Changkong is usually more popular. He is friendly and never puts on airs. Moreover, in the middle and lower classes of Blizzard City, his voice is almost the highest. Except that in the eyes of some women, he is slightly weaker than the super-rich second-generation Deng Xintong. There are few people in the whole Blizzard City whose popularity can be compared with his. Captain Gao, you will definitely have to shoulder the burden this time. I hope you can live up to your mission and complete it successfully. As long as you succeed this time, even if you are of humble origin, you can rely on this achievement to rise to power. With our recommendation, you may be able to enter the power core of Blizzard City in the future. Gao Changkong looked embarrassed. You guys are joking. I, Gao Changkong, have no other ideas. As a soldier, my duty is to protect the safety of Jiangnan District and maintain the glory of Jiangnan District. For this reason, I will ruthlessly wipe out any invading enemies. When he mentioned Eclipse Moon, his eyes were as sharp as a sword. The representatives of the factions around him who supported him were very satisfied with his attitude and nodded with a smile.